Get started. All right, everybody, welcome. It is Wednesday, January 22nd, 2025. I hope you are well wherever you may be in this world. And we have a wonderful global audience tonight, and it's good to have all of you here. You are here for How to Recession-Proof Your Job Search in 2025. My name is Albert of Albert's List, and we're a job search organization located here in the San Francisco Bay Area, helping people gain skills in both side hustles and their careers so they never, ever have to find a job ever again. And I want you to stick with that vision for the remainder of this webinar and just think about what's possible for you as we enter into one of the heaviest parts of job hunting and recruiting in this early 2025 season. So, who is Albert's List? Albert's List, we were founded in 2013. We're a job search community with 50,400 job seekers, hiring managers, recruiters, career coaches, and more. And we host virtual events, including this one, that also encompass mock interviews, hiring fairs, workshops, and the boot camp that you're going to hear a little bit about later today, that'll be focused on helping you at least gain the skills that you need in 8 weeks or less so that you can be ready to go out there into the world. And if you see this on the slide, you can join us at Albert's List today by pointing your phone to the QR code or entering into your browser bit.ly/find your next job, where you can join many of our working professionals and our recruiters, career coaches, and so forth to get advice, do a lot of networking, and get the answers to the questions that you need as you navigate your career journey. Today, you're just hearing from me so far. Elisa is going to be a little bit later, but I am the founder of Albert's List. I founded this organization in 2013, March 5th, 2013, and we've grown a lot since then. And the reason why I founded Albert's List was because I went through the pain of the Great Recession. And for those of you who've been working long enough since the 2009, 2010 days, we know that those days were rough because, let's face it, right? It was a tough time with the economy sort of imploding and things going south. But it was also an opportunity for many of us who were new into the job market to take advantage of the run up from where we came down from to where we are now today. So before I start today's presentation, I always like to give us an agenda. I think it's important so that you know what's coming up and that you can also get the most value from today's webinar. Even if we don't ever hear from you again, I want to leave you better than we found you. And so the way that we're going to start today's presentation is I think it's important to know that if you were going to be going some direction, you need to know where you came from. So we're going to talk a little bit about the job market. We're going to talk about how to think about your job search, and in particular, the frameworks that we care about when it comes to job hunting. And then 5 strategies to recession-proof your job search and how you can take advantage of these strategies with some of our upcoming programs that we hope that you will find interesting. So where does the job market stand now, right? Obviously, it's been a monumental week, especially here if you're here in the United States. We have a new president who has been inaugurated, and we'll talk about that in a little moment. And there's a lot of hope, I would think, coming into 2025, especially for those of you who may work in the tech industry, who may work in white collar office type work, information services, professional services. We've obviously haven't been in the best economic shape over the past couple of years with lots and lots of layoffs. And there's a lot of economic trends to look through that have brought us to where we are today. Obviously, the first chart is one that we've gotten to know a lot about over the last couple of years. We know that starting in Q1 of 2020, we had those really, really early layoffs, and then we hit the pandemic. And then for pretty much all of 2021, layoffs were kept to a minimum because companies were concerned about workers. They wanted to make sure that people could focus on their ability to be at home and take care of their health while continuing to be productive. And then after that, 2022 hit. 2022 was when we saw the rise of interest rates to levels not seen in at least 2 decades. And that led to layoffs that have pretty much been at some elevated levels through the last quarter of last year. You heard the story all throughout last year that companies were laying off and letting go of people for a variety of reasons, including those that encompassed macroeconomic issues, wanting to focus on artificial intelligence, and overall just trimming the fat that they may have considered fat because they no longer wanted certain elements of their business due to politics, due to the economy, due to both, and due to the fact that money just costs more to borrow. And so it's led to almost 500,000 tech workers being laid off since. And you've also seen a lot of other industries be impacted as well, including financial services. And lately, I'm also seeing that public sector, including education on the elementary, middle school, and high school levels, are being impacted as well, as budget cuts and the end of COVID funding is rendering a lot of school districts to have to reconsider what their purses look like. The unemployment rate has also changed a lot in that time too, right? During the pandemic, as many of you know, we hit 14 to 15% unemployment. And since that time, it's dropped down into the threes. As of the last couple of months, it's been in the 4% range. And it's been interesting, right? Like if you've definitely felt like you've been gaslit, it's been interesting because in the tech industry, you have so many layoffs. And so you may be wondering, what's been keeping us afloat this entire time? And in truth, what has been keeping us afloat has been public sector hiring, retail hiring, and restaurant hiring. With bills such as Biden's Inflation Reduction Act and the Infrastructure Build Back Better, you're seeing a lot of folks who are being employed in those areas, and those are offsetting the losses that we see in the tech industry. Some of the biggest tech layoffs since COVID-19 are listed here on this next slide. And these are a lot of names that we've come to know and love over the many, many years of being synonymous with the growth of the tech industry, including Intel, Tesla, Google, Meta, Microsoft, and Amazon. Some of these companies are laying off because they truly are trying to lean out and know that the business needs to change because of high interest rates. Others, like Intel, are laying off because they got late into the AI game, while others are still thinking through what it is exactly that they want to focus on and trying to stay abreast. And others, such as Microsoft and Amazon, who have a ton of employees already, are just looking for ways to reprioritize, refocus, and hold annual layoffs because uh, they want to make sure that they are always on the cutting edge. This is the unemployment rate for the United States. So I also want to mention for those of you who are in New Zealand, Canada, Australia, this is a somewhat US-centric webinar from an economic standpoint, but I also want to let you know that because many of these companies that are in tech that have laid off are also multinationals, and so it may have impacted you because I do know that companies like Microsoft and Google and Amazon do have offices abroad as well as domestically here in the United States. Where are the trends? So if you're US based, healthcare continues to be really, really hot. It's one thing that's really interesting because within the healthcare field, it's been something that's been growing for the last 15 years. Leisure and hospitality, government, a little bit of professional and business services growth. But if you look all the way down to the bottom where it says information, if you're somebody who works in marketing, if you're somebody who works in administrative assistance, if you're somebody who works any of these information jobs that you've come to know and love over the last 15 to 20 years, um, this zero, this big fat zero, has tended to be the norm rather than the exception. And so it has been this way for the last couple of years in what I like to call an information recession. And that's something that I hope changes here in the next presidential administration. And more so is something that we hope that we can help you all understand with and how you can get a job in that area. If you're in California, one thing that, and I see that many of you are, whether you are in the Bay Area or even whether you're in Southern California, one other thing to be consistently concerned about is that tech jobs are leaving our state. As the cost of doing business rises and as companies look for elsewhere to add those jobs, one thing that you'll notice is that we are back to where we were in about the 2014 to 2015 timeframe. While jobs did reach their peak in 2021, it has quickly fallen off and it seems to continue to move that way. especially as companies such as Meta move talent for their content moderation out of state, as companies see that salaries are lower elsewhere and that people are willing to take lower salaries, the high costs become untenable for California to be a place that at the moment is a place where people can go and find jobs and get hired. Similarly, in the Bay Area, this is a chart that we've also seen a lot since the last couple of years, especially since mid 2022. In San Jose and in San Francisco, jobs peaked in the 2021 timeframe and have pretty much fallen off a cliff then, with a little bit of recovery, but not that much. As you see, we have a lot of companies that have let people go. And this is reflected in a lot of the sentiments that we see on Albert's list as people continue to have trouble looking for work. And so in between that, right, on Monday, we had the inauguration of President Donald Trump. He's come back for his second term. And whether you're domestic or international, there is something here for everybody. As you know, he has formed or rather added investors in Silicon Valley all over to his administration. Whether it's Elon Musk running the Department of Government Efficiency, to revoking Biden's executive order on AI, to having David Sachs as the crypto and artificial intelligence czar. There's a lot of things to look forward to with a lot of interest here in the next couple of years, in particular, especially as we look at where the industry heads. What we're seeing here at Albert's List and what we're predicting is greater investment in artificial intelligence, especially as companies no longer have to conform to any policy rules, such as sharing potentially dangerous models or potentially having to um, look at cryptocurrency regulations and so forth. And so, if those are areas of interest and areas that you think may be growing a lot and significantly in the next couple of years, this is a place to be, especially if you're in Silicon Valley or beyond. So if you're looking for the recording and the slides, we will be sharing those at the end of today's presentation. I will have it in a YouTube link as well as being sent through in the follow-up email. So one other thing to look at that also matters when it comes to job hunts is inflation. Inflation is incredibly important because the higher inflation goes, the more money costs, and the more money costs, the more people lose their jobs because it becomes too expensive to borrow against that money and pay folks. Thankfully, inflation has come down from its pandemic highs of 9% or so. Although inflation on the aggregate, when you add all the inflation up time over time, has been very, very significant. Whether it's high egg prices, high housing prices, or even being able to buy a car, it has been very straining for all of us in the last couple of years. And this isn't just something that is in the United States, it's also something very much abroad. And so this is where it connects to, right? If you look at inflation, you all can also correlate it with interest rates. The Fed, as of December, has lowered interest rates to the 4.5 to 4.75 standpoint, and I think is also going to be taking a few months off here to see how those interest rates wind their way through the economy. And I see Donald Trump also lowering interest rates as well, as he wants to see the economy do better under his watch so that he can take credit for whatever that may look like. On the other hand, when we look at where the market is going, it's AI, AI, AI in healthcare. We all know that AI is going to change the job market, and it's going to impact all sorts of certain industries. If you're in an industry that does repeatable tasks, if you're in an industry that decisions can be made easily and automated, then you definitely have a risk of losing your job to technology. Whereas if you're somebody who works in a job where you see people day to day, or you are incredibly creative and people want to see original work, I would say that your job is more difficult to replace. I mean, there are a lot of people who really like the idea of an AI therapist or an AI musician or being able to create art inside of Midjourney. On the other hand, a lot of people just still want to see the real thing. And so, in between all of this, layoffs keep happening, right? This is just a smattering of links that have been coming out here through the last couple of months. This is when Boeing laid off a bunch of people, I think sometime in December. And as we begin the year, Microsoft continues to lay off. Uh, Facebook just announced a 5% reduction in force after Mark Zuckerberg went on the Joe Rogan podcast to state that more jobs in programming can be done by AI. So there's going to be a lot of movement here in the next couple of years, and we're going to see whether the AI promise comes true and how companies are going to be able to adapt to it. So, what do the forecasts say in the future? If you had asked me this a couple of months ago before the election, I would say that we were on track to seeing a warming by spring. If you were to say we're looking at now, because we're not entirely quite sure what we're going to get, except for a lot of pro-business legislation, the answer is we'll see. Interest rates are starting to ebb, and Trump as president, as we mentioned, brings many new opportunities. And we're going to cover some of these in the following slides. And AI is still hot, but unfortunately, the information recession continues. I think in my best and most positive way of looking at things, the job market is already starting to heat up and is going to be a lot better by spring. But overall, if your job search has been a struggle, I would say part of it is that it's not you. There are ways to get around it, and we're going to be talking about that in the next few slides. So, the next part I want to talk about is how to think about your job search. I know a lot of you, I speak with a lot of you on a regular basis, and it's interesting to see how folks approach their job hunt. I think one way, a lot of folks wake up in the morning, they think about looking for a job and they go out and they just search. Others have more of a concerted strategy and they do a lot of networking, they work on their resume, and then they end up applying to like 15 jobs. And while it's not necessarily right or wrong, I think that when it comes to job hunting, it's important to have a framework. And we've based ours off of a framework that is, somewhat similar. This is called the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And so the Maslow's hierarchy of needs is something that we use in the marketing world, and my background is marketing. It is a framework that describes all the things that a human being needs at a very basic to a more advanced level in order to feel like they are ready to take part in society at that certain level. Right? So every one of us has basic needs such as food, water, sleep, the ability to breathe. And once we have those things, we move up to looking for work, looking to take care of a family, having health, owning property. Then we seek out relationships with others. We build our confidence, and then we get to a point where we feel like we are no longer in survival mode. And as I was thinking a couple of years ago, it also appeared to me that the job search is very much like this. A lot of us are maybe in the first two levels, and we also have to think about our job search in levels well above that. And what is important about that is that no matter where you are in your job search, there are important pieces of that job search that you can take part in so that you can be in the best frame of mind to hunt for work. And so with that, I came to think through what it looked like and understanding that the foundations were critical and you needed to fill certain critical gaps in order to be successful. I created a framework called the hiring hierarchy. The hiring hierarchy, much like the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, is described by me as a framework that you use to understand how to strategize your job search. Much like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where you may not necessarily need all the creativity or spontaneity in the world, you also don't need all of the things in this framework either. But having little bits and pieces of it is really, really important. So at the end of the day, you may not necessarily need to be a CEO, but possessing leadership skills is incredibly important for your success. However, at the end of the day, no matter who you are, whether you're looking for a job at McDonald's or whether you're looking for a job at Meta, you still need the hunger, attitude, hustle, and self-awareness in order to be successful. And in order to get to these higher jobs as you go through, you also need to have important pieces like a resume, a cover letter, personal branding, networking, job searching, skills for that job, and then also the ability to interview. And so, as this next chart shows, you mostly need the things that you need to have on the bottom two levels in order to be successful. But most of what happens above that is also the things that you need if you want to get a senior level role. And today we're going to talk a little bit about both. And so this leads us to our five strategies on how to create a job search that is successful. Strategy one is to create a scalable job search, and we're going to also add some tips on AI tools. And the first idea here is to organize your search. And Alisa, I believe you are on the call now. So if you can share links to all of these resources below, we'd be happy to share them. But at the end of the day, what you really need to do is you need to create stages of your job search with a clear template. Build a job search tracker with a strategy, manage your time, and use something like Albert's List job search tool to get to where you want to be. As you go through the early pieces of your job search, it's also important to understand and review your habits as you go through that search. One of the things that I find that's most important as I look at job searchers is that many of them don't necessarily have the disciplines to be successful all the time. Some folks wake up on Monday, they apply for 10 jobs, and then they take the next 2 days, and then they come back and they think about doing a networking event on Thursday. Unfortunately, our job searches are never like that because if you want to be successful, you must be consistent every single day. We're also very, very aware of the fact that AI tools are part of the job search today as well. AI has obviously taken us by storm over the last 2 to 3 years, and there are a variety of tools that you should also leverage as a part of your job search, like Teal to record where it is that you are looking for your search, as well as Kick Resume and Job Scan to look at your resume, and so forth. All of these are important tools that we think will help you and will not just automate parts of your job search, but will also help you stand out. The second strategy is to look for the riches in the niches. And so what that means is that it's important to be specific, but not too specific. And it's also important to know what your specialty is. We all have skills, we all have strategic ideas for how we want to get things done, but it doesn't necessarily always make sense to apply broadly. Sometimes if you've been working in analytics or if you've been working in as a software engineer over the last couple of years, specifically in the enterprise productivity space, it makes sense to continue looking for jobs in that area, especially in a down economy where things aren't that great. The other example that we provide in this presentation is going for Series B social impact startups that generally have no layoffs. Social impact startups or Series B, or not, social impact startups or B corporations, as they're noted, tend to be companies that focus on social good and a benefit to the working public. And so if you look for companies that work in that area, they tend to put people before what it is that their investors want. And so one thing to note here is that some of these companies tend to have less hires, but when they do make hires, it's generally for the right people because they do a lot of their due diligence. There's also a lot of different ways to research for those riches in the niches. So tools like Yahoo Finance, tools like Google Alerts, where you can use searches like small business and a meditation app, or scanning niche job boards, communities, and newsletters such as Albert's List can also help you get closer because the people who work directly in those areas are willing to answer those questions. As you go through your job search, make a watch list. Understand what it is that you need to look out for when these jobs come through because they may have unconventional names, and then pounce when necessary. A third strategy is to highlight recession-proof skills. This is an important one because as you go through your job search, it's important to know that even though the broader economy may be in a bad place, you also have an opportunity to be somebody who stands out no matter what. I'm somewhat of an example of this. I know over the last couple of days and weeks, from time to time, I will get people who are reaching out. And that's because things like my resume, things like my LinkedIn are always somewhere for people to see with the details filled out. And we'll talk a little bit about that. So, what are some of the ways that you can stand out in your job search? Number one is understanding that data is the foundation for tech-enabled businesses. Gathering, formatting, cleaning that data, and presenting it is incredibly essential for being able to show that you understand what businesses care about. In a separate lecture that I sometimes give, we talk about the importance of understanding what's at stake. And what's at stake is incredibly important is because one of the most important things you learn in the world of work is that no company is going to hire you because they want to hire you. Every company is hiring strategically, and nobody is doing it as a charity. So the more you can show and demonstrate your impact to other people, the better it is that you can do to show that you would be a good hire. Another one is uh, another one is being able to show how you work as a remote and hybrid worker, especially since communication in those areas may be tough. Many people have a tough time being able to communicate across different platforms instead of being able to just walk across to a desk and speak to their colleagues. If you understand how the strategies of these tools work, and you're able to develop processes that streamline operations, streamline communications, that can oftentimes bring a lot of value, and you can use data-driven metrics to explain that. So, one thing to always consider is to understand how, and it looks like my screen stopped sharing. Let me go back to sharing it here. Um, Let me make sure I'm sharing this again. Okay. One of the things to consider is how does your positioning change, right? So when you position yourself in the job search, you have to use using numbers will oftentimes showcase how much more powerful you are. And so if you're able to say that you're a project manager that reduced project turnaround time using certain tools by 58%, it's a lot more powerful than just saying that you reduced project turnaround time and that you were able to create customer satisfaction. So, being detailed and being incredibly specific is important in being able to show who you are and how you are. All right, excellent. Strategy number four is to translate your tech skills to governments, nonprofits, and other industries. One of the things that we've seen here in the job search and in the industry since the Great Reset, since the layoffs for the tech industry have begun, is that you've had a lot of companies that have let folks go, and those folks have gone to different industries. Uh, Finding those opportunities is a sort of a different game because compared to the traditional way of maybe looking at LinkedIn, ZipRecruiter, or Indeed, you really have to research the opportunity. But there are a lot of places that offer tech jobs, and they offer them in ways that you would generally not think about. Another way to look at it is looking for jobs on USA Jobs or governmentjobs.com and primarily for state and local jobs these days. Federal jobs, unfortunately, are now on a hiring freeze as of yesterday. So if you're looking for a government job or in the process of looking for a government job, it is likely that you are not going to hear anything back until well into the spring. Additionally, you can also look at industry newsletters, groups, forums, and listservs to see what's available there, and then also to conduct informational interviews and get your way through introductions. In a tough market such as right now, it is more important than ever to leverage your networking skills to find people who are uh, who have the power of referral and who know who you are to push you through into the various different um, channels to look for those job opportunities. With everybody looking at applying through websites, it's easy to really get lost in the fold. And so that having people know you instead is going to be really, really key. You also want to position yourself for those opportunities as you translate your resume. If you are, for example, somebody who used to work in customer success, positioning yourself as somebody who is a researcher or somebody who is a data analyst or somebody who is a trainer can be really, really valuable across different industries. It's also, you can also use those networking opportunities to understand who it is that would be doing the type of work that you're looking to do in those other industries too. So, for example, as somebody who founded Albert's List, if I, for whatever reason, one day term out of tech because of my age, one thing that I've decided that I want to look for are jobs that help other people in workforce development. And so being able to translate my marketing skills into promoting programs, promoting resources going to be an incredibly big piece of that workforce development work that I do. And so understanding what your skills are and seeing where they translate on your end is going to help you in similar fashion. So we've gone through the first four strategies, and we're going to come to the fifth strategies, which is to keep the fires warm. So when it comes to keeping the fires warm, one of the biggest pieces of the job search is networking. Networking, as I mentioned in the previous slides, is more important than ever because you now have a job market that is inundated with applicants. And if you are a person who is looking at resumes from 500 people, it gets incredibly overwhelming, especially when you have a 9 to 5 job to take care of. And so, as a job seeker, if you're able to get into the conversations with the right people, leverage the power of small asks, and make sure that people know that you're looking and that's your brand of what it is that you're looking for, it's going to be a lot better because it means that your name is going to be dropped in rooms where you are not located in. And so, we offer many of these tips in our job search bootcamp as well as our job search bootcamp resources. But basically, what you need to realize is that it's a conversation and that it's up to you to keep that conversation going so that you can be in the best place possible. And finally, the extra strategy is to not forget the fundamentals. When it comes to job searching, you need to really master the basics, which matter more than ever. And these can include everything from writing a good resume and checking for typos, to following up with your networking, to building a presence in the areas that matter and writing a cover letter and using things like AI for help. And you can use AI to help for all of these things at the end of the day. One of the things to always note uh, is that you can use networking, for example, to frame a conversation, or you can copy and paste your resume into ChatGPT and ask it to find any typos, or you can ask ChatGPT to come up with 5 to 10 posts that you can put on your LinkedIn. And so all of those things are helpful, and you also want to cross-check what AI looks like. If you were late today, you're more than welcome. Welcome and thanks for coming. We will be doing a replay of this webinar next Wednesday, and this will also be available on YouTube for those who want to look for that as well. Other basics include your attitude. Your attitude means everything. One of the things that I've been mentioning a lot in my How to Land a Job in 2024 webinars is to not take a great resignation mindset into an RTO world. And what that means is that we are going into a world where now employers have all the power. Amazon Web Services, for example, has asked all of its workers back into the office. The federal government under President Donald Trump wants to do the same and ensure that everybody is somewhere where people can watch them. And so, even if no matter what your skills are, no matter what your past results have been, it is incredibly important for you to truly understand where it is that you fit in with all of this. Of course, many of us can still find remote jobs, but remote jobs are becoming fewer and fewer by the day. The second thing is to stay consistent. It's important that you distinguish between wanting to have a job and uh, and really, really desiring that job. If you're somebody who wakes up and says that you want a job, but you're not willing to put in the volume of applications and the volume of networking, it's definitely something to think about whether you are looking for a job or not. And finally, on attitude, it's important to have accountability and community behind you, which is some of the power of Albert's List and the programs that we do. And so what that leads to is our 8 weeks to employed bootcamp program. This is a program that we've been running for the last 5 years. It is a 8 week, as is said in the name, program where we cover a variety of different topics that talk about what it is that that talk about your job search. And I believe those are on the next slide. So Lisa, if you have the link to the event, please go ahead and put it in the webinar chat so that our attendees can go ahead and take a look. But if you want to go ahead and point your QR code, you can take a look at that as well. And what it is that it's a collection of different subjects that come from the job search that we cover over 8 weeks while giving you the accountability that you're looking for. They include everything from being able to understand you and your positioning and your goals and the roles that you're looking for, to mastering all your fundamentals, such as the resume, personal branding, being able to network and meet others, your daily job search sites, your daily habits, your ability to interview, and so forth. And the reason why we put it into these 8 weeks is we understand that a lot of you don't have a structured job search process. And not having a structured job search process dooms your job search from the very beginning because it prevents you from working at your greatest and highest potential. In this also, we also look at navigating change, building credibility, and then we also conclude with talking about offer letters and negotiation. And in between that, we also offer accountability chat that you have on LinkedIn where you can meet with your other cohort members to talk about what you're going through with your job search. We do weekly office hours where you can vent, where we answer your job search questions, where we walk through a particular thing that you can be supported on, whether it's figuring out how to interview, whether it's looking at your resume and seeing what it is um, that is critical for your barrier within your job search. And we've had, you know, we've had anywhere between we've had between 1 to 200 people graduate this program as well over the last couple of years. And people who go through this program realize that it's important for them because they have that community. And in addition to that, outside of the presentations that we do every week, you also get access to recruiters and other job search experts. So it's not just me talking at you for 8 weeks. We also have resume writers. We also have recruiters such as Lucy Thompson, who I saw in the chat here. And there's also a chance to work one-on-one with me for just a little bit more money as well. And so, if you're wondering, who is our boot camp for? If you stayed here till the very end, it may just be for you. If you're the type of person who needed a job yesterday and are tired of the same old when it comes to job searching. Or if you're somebody who's looking for an accountability partner, somebody who's looking for a community, somebody who's looking for support. The job search can be rough because you're very much alone throughout the entire process. But we offer that weekly, that regular time frame over the first 8 weeks, and then office hours afterwards. And then if you're also somebody who's been out of the job market for a while and want to learn how it's being done in 2024, 2025, we've had people who have not job hunted in 10 to 15 years who show up. Or we have just some people who've never had to look for a job who show up and realize that these are skills that they need to refine because they haven't been doing the work and practicing because they've been working and they've hit this layoff wall. Or if you're somebody who's a new grad and you've never job hunted before and you're doing it for the very first time, we also want to offer this opportunity for you as well. And so the bootcamp QR code is right down there in the corner. What we really want to help you do is we really want to help you create a scalable job search, a search where you can refine and perfect your skills when it comes to networking, when it comes to building a LinkedIn profile, when it comes to building your overall job search strategy. If you're somebody who wants to leave the industry, we also want to help you translate those tech skills and really keep yourself top of mind for those people who are helping you. Um, yes. And so in the next, and so we have the bootcamp link there below. And what we want to do, I think beyond this, is we're going to take some Q&A, especially from those who may want to take part in this program or have questions and want to learn more. So I'm going to start with a question that I got early on in this chat. We have an anonymous attendee who said, I'm a senior computer science student and looking for summer 2025 internship opportunities in analysis or data science, currently in Sacramento. Are there any recommendations about how I could go about this process? Are there any places I would recommend? Well, because you're a student, I would say that you're in college, and so you should use your career center. And if you're going to go on LinkedIn, you should also ask for a recommendation to, or not a recommendation, but ask for a referral to meet somebody who works in the industry that you want to work in. And it's even better if they worked in the same school as you did. So go and speak to people who are warm leads and warm connections and can help make extra introductions for you. All right. Max, how accommodating is this for people who are underemployed, working full time but not in the career that they want? Yeah, so if you decide to sign up, we host weekly office hours. We also record every single session that we have. And I also, if you do the premium version, it's a chance for you to work with me one-on-one. And so if we also need to make additional time out of our session and our office hours, I also work with you one-on-one to figure out what those next steps look like. And with regards to you joining, no matter what. Once you have been in one of our boot camps, those boot camp chats stay open forever. And in addition to that, you also get access to us. Well, you get most access to us forever. And because the job market has been lagging for quite a while, we also extend the office hours past the 8 weeks so you can continue to get the support that you need. So Alyssa just dropped the link above. Does anyone else have any questions that they would like answered to look for clarity as we speak about this boot camp today? Okay, well, no questions, no thoughts. I love how everybody knows exactly what they're looking for. And so we already have people who have signed up for our boot camp. Our cohort begins on February 3rd, and we start on February 3rd, going through the 10th, 17th, 24th, March 3rd, and I believe March 10th, 17th, and 24th as well. And so and so that starts every single Monday at 5 o'clock. What's the cost of the boot camp? Good question. Great question, actually. The cost of the boot camp is $295 for the regular version and $395 for the premium version. And so compared to other boot camps, our boot camp is significantly more affordable because we do want to have it more accessible, knowing that many of you are experiencing job search challenges. What's in the premium version? So the premium version is not only do you have the group sessions with everybody, but you also have one-on-one sessions with us. And in particular, for this particular cohort, it'll be me. And yeah, so that's the main difference is that if you have premium, then you get the one-on-one experience with yours truly. Okay. Yes. How to find jobs in the New Zealand IT sector for software QA engineers, apart from Seek and LinkedIn. Any idea? So if you're in Auckland, I would say go down to your central business district. That's where your tech industry is. And I would look for networking events where you can meet people face to face. And more importantly, I would also say go and speak to people who graduated from the same university as you did and see how they're looking to hire in their industries. Software QA is a tougher one right now, too, especially because it is a repeatable task that software companies generally can do. And so a lot of that kind of work is being automated. Um, there's nothing specialized in the New Zealand market. Although what I would say is that when it comes to looking at this particular job search, that being able to network, being able to put together a good personal brand, write a good resume, and in your case, a CV, is something that transcends cultures. And so I would, and unless you're going into something extremely specialized that is outside of tech, there may be something that's not necessarily recommended on our side. Yes, this is this so and so to answer Sheena's question here, it is relevant for non-US residents, um, even though we've been mostly US focused. Who are the facilitators that will be leading the upcoming 8 weeks to employ job search boot camp? Elisa, would you like to come on audio and answer that question?
Yes. So for this boot camp, it'll be Albert and myself. So I'm a longtime moderator within Albert's list. Obviously, Albert is the founder. And with this first half of the year, we just heard loud and clear from our community that everyone's looking for a more focused approach. So we're going to try a couple of things, infuse AI into this boot camp, and it's our flagship version. So I would say that I know in the new year, there's a lot of uncertainty right now, changes within the new administration. So the two things that are really helpful in the winter series of the boot camp is that if you're feeling on a slump or a little ruggish getting back into the hunt or job searching while holding down a full-time job, it's helpful to have this community. It gives you accountability. It gives you some
Oh, well,
momentum
I think
moving
they were
forward.
asking in particular who the instructors were. So, Jonaid Iqbal is the individual who leads our resume boot camp, resume session rather, over a couple of sessions, and he provides us templates. He speaks through what hiring managers look for when it comes to LinkedIn. We have Corey, who is the founder of CareerShakers.com and a Fortune 500 recruiter who helps with interviewing. We have a to be determined job search coach who does negotiation, and then we also have separate coaches for personal branding, and then I also talk a little about interviewing as well. Which state has the most tech jobs? I don't have that number for you immediately, Vamshi, but what I would say is that um, it's probably still California, even though we've seen a very, very significant decline over the last couple of years. The venture capital funding is still here. There's still a significant attraction to California with the beautiful views and the weather and the amount of money that you can make, and also the amount of educational um, pipeline that goes into these companies in Silicon Valley. Yeah, we can talk about ghost jobs. So, ghost jobs, as Constantine brings up, are the jobs that companies put online that are not real jobs. These are jobs that are there to show the public that a company may be growing, even when it may not necessarily be growing. And it is there to sometimes also help a company gain more funding when they apply for grants and so forth. And these are incredibly disheartening ways to show people the possibilities of getting hired because it has them spending a lot of time on resumes and tailoring their resumes and applying into a black hole. And so it is a real thing. It is absolutely a real thing. And so one of the things that we do want to offer you in this boot camp that is offered is how you can, instead of looking at jobs all day, figure out how to be an effective networker and um, be able to overcome not having to navigate the applicant tracking system. Yeah. All right. Any other questions? How have the latest climate events impacted recruiting for California-based companies? That's an interesting question, Aline. And I think that when it comes to tech workers, it hasn't necessarily been an impact. But if you are somebody who works in tourism, if you're somebody who works in jobs that are very face to face, it's been no doubt disruptive. And I would say that if you're working in construction or in regulatory affairs, when it comes to construction in California, your opportunities just became more lucrative because a ton of houses need to be built. Yeah. All right. Well, with 5 minutes left to go into the hour, I want to leave the boot camp link up here. And for those of you who want to take advantage of this opportunity, we would like to welcome you. And for those of you who want to think about it a little bit further, we are doing this webinar again next week. So there is an opportunity for us to speak to this again, and you can come back with any additional questions that you've thought of. And we would love to have you for the next upcoming 8 weeks starting February 3rd so that we can support you in your job hunt. So without further ado, I want to thank everyone for their time tonight. We do have this upcoming event here on January 29th, as well as many other events going on Albert's List over the next couple of weeks. And so until next time, I want to wish all of you a wonderful, good job search. And I look forward to answering your questions about any additional questions about our boot camp. And we look forward to having you soon. Thanks, everybody, and have a great night.